Yo. What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Well, here we are. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Shuffle and Flow show.
Oh, hang on a second. I forgot to say. Sound speed.
Sound speed.
So many S's.
Click.
How many S's in
I'm a
English?
seamstress for a seal act. Hey, guys. Welcome back to the Shuffle and Flow show. We are starting our profiles in dance icons, and our first guest is the incomparable Mr. Billy Goodson. We are
Hey,
so
everybody.
pleased and
Thanks so much for
honored
being
to
here.
have you here today as our first guest.
I'm honored to be here. I didn't know I was going to be the first guest, but I'm honored.
Oh, so Billy has an unbelievable story, you guys. Going back to the early 70s, I think, is when you
Mid-70s.
first. So tell us how you got started in dancing and who were some of the supportive factors in that decision and how you were able to continue.
Okay. Let's say 75-ish.
And how old were you?
I was 19.
Okay.
And I left school. I was in Northern California, and my sister took me to a club. She was kind of a model type, and of course she had all these gay friends that she would run with, and they would play Barbie with her, and she'd go out on the weekends with them. And she took me to this club one night on a double date, a girl named Annie, to this club called Gino's on Vine and Santa Monica.
Okay.
Famous Gino's. And it changed my life.
That one night.
It changed my friggin' life. I was really in a direction towards veterinary medicine. I was married. And
You were married?
Yes, I was married to a lovely lady named Gingy.
Hi, Gingy.
Hi, Gingy.
And we're still close friends.
Nice.
My first big love.
Beautiful.
And in that night, it just changed my life. It was, the kids were all street dancers. A guy named Michelangelo was a DJ, and I met Victor there. Victor Manuel.
Oh, my gosh. Hi, Victor.
So it was all street dance, particularly whacking, punking at the time.
Had you seen that before?
I had never seen it. And this guy, Michelangelo, the DJ, he was completely in drag as Tim Curry from Rocky Horror.
Oh, amazing.
And it was like my brain just like went, it just like exploded a little bit, and I was never the same. That song Last Night a DJ changed my life.
Oh, my gosh.
That was it.
Written for you.
No, that was it, and I was never ever the same.
I have a mate that always says it's like when God speaks, and you know, and it changes everything. You have a few times in your life when God speaks, it just goes, ah.
That's
What was
how
the
it
feeling you got? Was it a sense of, was there an epiphany? Was there some sort of feeling in your heart that had, tell us what that feeling was.
It was, first of all, like I was in the right place. And in that club was everything. I mean, everything. Guys, girls, straight, gay, bi, everything. It was the 70s. So everyone was doing everything.
Everything, right.
But it was not so much an epiphany, but a feeling of being at home and being completely inspired by home. And from that day, I became a street dancer and started dancing in the clubs. And I met a young lady that I think you guys know, Miranda Garrison.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I was coming out of the club because I would work during the day, run home, take a little nap, hit the club at about 10, and I would take several different changes of clothes because I sweated so much. And I was running out of the club to change my shirt, and I ran into Miranda. Now, I was big. She's a voluptuous woman. Chest first. Boom.
You literally ran into
No, we literally ran into each other. And I don't even know how, but it was like, you want to dance? And that was the beginning of...
and of course, she had training and...
Yes, she had training. She was a trained dancer and a young actress. And she became my partner. And we first competed at a club. It was called Destiny 2, which later turned into Chippendales, down on Overland.
Absolutely, we danced
We worked
there.
there.
Okay. And we competed against that night at our first competition, which was such a big thing, I can remember everything about how she was dressed. Blue, like wraparound dress, little black, sandal heels, so sexy, stack perm. I can't remember anything about me.
Right.
Nothing about me. I mean stack perm.
Yeah.
Just a
Okay?
big stack perm.
With that smile too.
And all of like the best street dancers were in that competition. Shabadoo, Jeff, No, Nucci, everybody. You know, flamethrowers and suits that lit up, and popping and locking. And what we decided to do was we decided to do to couple dance to Stevie Wonder's Golden Lady and do something romantic.
Completely opposite of everybody else.
Of everybody else. And we do this very sensual dance, which later on, I kind of left it as our little secret, but she kind of brought the cat out of the bag recently in a documentary about behind the scenes of Dirty Dancing. I live in Milano, and she calls me in Milano, and she says, there's this documentary, and we want to talk about you. And I'm like, why do you want to talk about me in Dirty Dancing? And she was like, you know why. And I was like, okay, and we need the rights to this information and the footage. There was some footage that went along with it. Well, that style in Dirty Dancing up in the little shack up there, that was us.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was what we did. And I left it alone. I was happy it was there. She never said anything. And then 20 years later, she we had some footage. And so that is what we did that night in our first contest. And the people went crazy. The end of the number, we didn't even plan it. But you know, when you're in the moment and you feel the energy in the room, it was just dip after dip after dip. And I dipped her to the floor and I looked at her and I walked out of the club. I just walked out of the club and left her laying on the floor.
Feeling the moment.
Left her like heaving. Just left her there, and I could hear the crowd go up.
Just
You know,
crazy.
inside, go up. So still today, you know, people that were there were like, "Oh, and when you
And then
left
you
her
walked.
on the floor and walked out of the club." So that was like the beginning of everything. Somehow from there, I was in another club called Paradise Ballroom, which later turned into the Rage. Not the Rage. Wait,
The Roxy?
no.
No.
It'll come to me, or it'll come to you. On Highland, below Santa Monica.
Revolver?
Apache.
Revolver. No. the
Blue
Revolver.
Parrot.
No, that's all in West. That's all in WeHo. Highland Probe.
Ah, yes. Yes. Two
It
stories.
later turned onto
Yes.
the Probe.
Yes.
Turned into the Probe.
Yes.
It was called Paradise Ballroom, and everybody
God.
in the circuit went there. And I was at this time, I'm sure I was 20. And Saturday night, club is full. And this woman walks up to me and asks me if I'd like to dance. She's like, I hear you're the guy that couple dances with the girls. And I'm like, full of myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy.
Swagger.
And who is she? Tony Basil. So I proceed to dance every bobby pin out of her hair, throwing her, ragdolling her all over the club.
And she was already 45.
Shut up.
I'm kidding. No, I'm joking. You know I
Well,
love her.
she's 72 now. I mean,
She's
amazing.
absolutely unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Same age.
She's unbelievable.
I'm not even going to text that.
I love you, Tony.
But no, Tony was probably 30,
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
In full form.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a movie because it was, you know, those kinds of situations where it's like the world is swirling around you and you're in like slow motion and she's screaming in my ear, I have this show, I'd like for you to be in my show, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, she's like telling me I pay $50 a show, and I'm like 20, I'd never been paid for anything.
Right.
And she started my professional career. And all at the same time, Miranda, one night, we went to see Alvin Ailey together. She took me to see Alvin. And after the show, I was like, I think I can do that. You know, it doesn't look like those guys started at 6. They were probably teenagers when they started. And I know I'm old, but I think I could probably. And, you know, I asked her, you know, what do you think? And she was like, you can, but you got to get to work, buddy. And I said, okay, give me a list of where I need to go. And she was like, here for ballet, here for jazz, here for modern. And the next day, I had my hand on the bar at Gene Marinaccio's.
Wow.
Remember Gene Marinaccio?
Yeah.
Over on Vine, before the bomb. Anyway. Before the bomb. And that's how everything kind of started.
So you immersed yourself in studying dance, all styles.
Yeah.
And you were working at the same time.
Yeah.
Full-time job, regular
Full-time job, worked as a printer's assistant.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
And that's what paid for me to study dance. And then it was great, too, because something happened in the economy, Reaganomics, and I got laid off, but I got unemployment. And that allowed me, I was living with my grandma, so it allowed me to do a full immersion. And Tony's show, Tony, I just need to say thank you forever. For all of my life, I will say thank you. And she knows why.
Yeah.
But in that show was so much talent. And I was in love with the Trinas, with the ballerinas. She had 3 ballerinas and 2 ballet dancers, the twins. I'm not sure if you knew the. No.
Yeah. I knew the twins.
You know the twins?
Yeah, absolutely. Karen and Sharon.
No, men.
Oh.
Boys.
I thought you were talking about the
Chip and
girls.
Phip.
Chip and Phip.
From
Chip and
Pasadena.
Phip from Pasadena. Shut up.
They were monsters.
Chip and Phip. Yes.
They were absolute monsters.
Well,
yeah.
one of their wives was one of the ballerinas, Cindy. Jerry Gale. Anybody know Jerry Gale? Diva. I don't, Jerry, I'm sorry. I don't know if it was ABT or New York City Ballet, and then she came back here. Wow. And Palace Slider. You guys know Palace, don't you? And I was in love with them. I would stand in the wings, amazed. And Shabadoo was in the show, and so much talent. I'm going to forget everybody's name. And the people working in the formation of it, Kenny Ortega was around, just kind of hanging. And this guy named David Winters, he was kind of her mentor. And I knew who he was right away because I was a lover of West Side Story. And he was the little redhead guy
Yes.
in West Side Story. And he, in the show, she would introduce all of her dancers, and she didn't really like jazz dance. She had something kind of against jazz dance. It was like ballet or street dance. And so she would introduce everyone, and my introduction was, you know, I don't really like jazz dance, but I really like this guy. So he's in my show, and I'm happy he's in my show, Billy. And that was like my introduction. I'm like, whatever, okay.
Hop, skip, shoulder.
I'll be the jazz guy, you know. Even though I've been studying jazz like 6 months, along with ballet and everything else. And David Winters came up to me after one of the shows. He saw the show probably every night. And he said, I'd like for you to be my assistant for this upcoming Diana Ross show and tour.
Wow.
I mean, I've been studying dance 6 months.
Right. Wow.
Tony Basil, Diana Ross. What?
Incredible.
Yeah. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
Incredible.
That's just blessed. That's
Yeah,
right place,
yeah.
right time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Before you go on that professional note,
Dude.
how did your family handle your transition from this veterinarian path and married to this sort of bon vivant, newfound dance life?
I was lucky. My family is small and very, very tight. And they were all incredibly supportive and all knew I was doing the right thing because I've danced my whole life. My mother even put me in ballet class when I was like 4 or 5. And I lasted about 4 classes. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I like it.
Yeah.
but I don't want to be the only boy in class with all of these little girls in pink running around. So sign me up for baseball or football, and so I did sports until I was 20. But I liked it. And my mom, besides her emotional support, there was no financial support. I at that point, because I'd already been married and I left school when I was really young, like 13, so I was already working. But she bought me my first portable stereo because I would go to all of these
You mean like a
rich
boombox?
people. No, this was pre-boombox. We're talking pre-boombox. This is like a stereo record player, pre-boombox.
I love it.
And I would run around Beverly Hills teaching women.
In their private residence?
Yes.
Oh!
Disco.
Love it.
And they wanted to be thrown around and manhandled, and I was like, bring it.
And this is 76, 77, the height of disco.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like right at that time, Saturday Night Fever came out,
Yeah.
and so then everything that I did was what the industry wanted. So I got so incredibly lucky to be there at the right time. But something told me, I think because I started dancing late, I knew that I needed to get trained because I knew this fashion was going to go out of fashion. And then what do I do?
And you need a solid standard.
Yeah, I needed to be trained.
Good for you
And,
for realizing that you needed longevity in order.
Yeah, but I think it was because I started late. Because I had a lot of friends, dancers who had like been dancing their whole lives, and who never kind of got it.
Right.
Narayef is right here. He didn't start till he was 17.
Okay.
So I mean,
Hey, Rudy.
everyone has a different. That's
Picture
what I love about
yeah,
your story.
Narayef right
You know,
there.
so if you're listening to this and you think, "Oh, I missed the boat," it's never too late.
No, it's never too late. But you gotta
work,
you gotta bust
gotta
your
work.
butt.
You gotta
gotta
grind
work.
it
You gotta
out.
bust your butt.
Yeah.
And then the luck continued. I mean, Diana Ross, that was like,
So David Winters hires you as assistant. You've never been an assistant before.
No, I never
Not even
did.
in dance
Did
class.
you even
No.
know what an assistant was supposed to be doing on a dance job? No.
no,
So
but I was gonna be one.
You're going to be one.
I was gonna be the best
That's
damn
right.
one you'd ever seen. Whatever he'd
Wow.
got to do.
So you held auditions, and was it in LA?
It was in LA.
Okay.
And the funny thing was, Diana, she was like, I want all guys like him. That's what I want all around me.
I went with Miss Ross.
Okay? I want like 6 foot, all beautiful models around me. And I want to be like a fly in a bowl of milk.
Oh,
I was like, seen that. You know what I mean? I was just like, listen, I got something that I want you to see. So she got incognito one night, and I took her to Gino's.
Fantastic.
She was like, what the hell is this? This is pre-Madonna, pre-Vogue.
Yeah. So she
And-
started taking the model off of Anne Margaret with all those tall, hot jazz dancers around
Well, yeah,
her.
but I mean, I think that's a symbol of status.
Yeah.
That you have those boys.
Yes.
You know, Cher had her boys, Shirley MacLaine had her
Mitzi
boys,
Gaynor.
Mitzi,
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
had their boys. Liza had hers. And so she wanted hers. So I understood it. I got it, but I knew that she, at that time, her album, The Boss, was coming out. She was on top of the world. So I was like, you need something that is gonna
Lead the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
not follow everybody, but
Totally.
be ahead.
Yeah.
And so I took her to Gino's, and she was like, "It's on, hire him." So what we did was we ended up hiring 4 jazz dancers, one of which I was, and then 5 street dancers, one of which I was. I danced in both groups, and when the jazz came, I usually danced in the second line because the jazz dancers were so much better than me, and I had so much respect for them. Andre De La Roche, you know Andre De La Roche? Andre.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to stand in front of Andre, and I've been dancing 6 months.
Jeez.
So I stood back and learned and robbed.
From the best.
From the best.
on the job training.
From the best. And we started our tour, and the show went for like 3 years. And there's so many stories.
Tell us one juicy one, or two, or three. Don't you have a Studio 54 story?
Yeah, Studio 54 is pretty great. That was the first year that we were on tour, and we played at Radio City Music Hall. And on the weekends, not in like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, she was like, we're going to Studio 54. We were like, of course we are.
Yeah.
So the limousine,
Royalty.
the limousine would roll up, and we'd hop in the limo with her, and we showed up at Studio 54 and got rushed in.
Oh.
And it's like everybody that you had admired, and I mean from Al Pacino to De Niro to Liza Minnelli to Warhol, just everyone from politicians to art, everybody is there.
Such a unique time in our history, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just that moment.
Yeah. Very, very special place. And the funny thing was, I remember there's a picture of me dancing with her in People magazine. And I have on these little bitty, remember dolphin shorts?
Oh, yeah.
Shut up, where are you laughing?
Oh, yeah.
I remember you in dolphin shorts.
With a dance belt and dolphin shorts.
Scandalous.
green
Okay,
and
it
white
was all
stripes.
a dance belt and dolphins, and
Scary.
everything is peekaboo. Everything
Right.
is
I
out.
didn't know.
So you didn't know. Flat. One more flat back.
Okay.
He still wears them.
All right.
Still same pair.
And but I remember coming into the club with pants on.
And somehow
Somehow.
you have dolphin shorts conveniently underneath them.
Yes, because I knew I wanted boy, and I might have to split, and
You just might have to.
I see big jetés happening, and dolphins.
Clear the way.
I
Clear
know.
the floor.
What? In Studio 54.
Love it.
In
Why
Studio
not?
54. Why not?
Why not?
And
And I know that your supporting leg was turned out from the hip. It was. I know that because that's him.
whatever.
It's true.
Turn. They told me to turn out.
And
you
I
know.
did it.
That's why hip replacement. But yeah, Studio 54 was a time, a moment in cultural expression and in dance that was fabulous, but it was also the beginning of many dark moments that we all went through, and there's many people that we lost in the 80s, and that was the pre-boil,
Sort of a peak.
yeah.
There goes a light.
Shit, and fire.
They got me.
Ah! Really?
Smoke and fire.
Pre-boil.
Oh, we're gonna keep filming, even though we have a fire
Yeah, it's just
emergency
it was the
off
bowl.
camera.
The bowl.
Hopefully, we'll
That's because you're hot, Billy.
Hot.
I don't want
kill
We
you.
were all hot
Killing
in the
it.
70s and 80s.
Oh, man.
Big hair, hot.
But we'll continue.
We'll continue.
All
Moving
good.
right along.
Is there, we still got light?
We're good.
Are we okay?
Yeah, and we don't really need it.
Oh, okay.
There we
That
go.
one closer.
Oh, it
There we
smells.
That's the sulfur. Is it the devil or is it the light? Oh my goodness.
Still rolling.
Still
Still
good?
rolling.
Awesome.
For 23 minutes.
So, 3 years traveling the world with one of the biggest superstars on the planet.
Yeah.
What did you take away from that job? Financially, spiritually, emotionally, professionally?
Maybe the question is not what I took away, but what I got.
Okay.
The gift I got.
What did you gain?
One night, HBO is filming the show, and I have another picture in Diana's dressing room. She would have like impromptu parties.
Yes.
Her dressing room was like this 3 times, so she would have little parties. And that night, Grace Jones had come to the show, and she was pretending like she was livid, but she wasn't livid. But she was pretending like it because Grace Jones, there's these umbrellas for lights. She had on a hat like that in fuchsia. in the audience. So the whole audience is like looking, who is that? Who is that? And Diana's like, how am I supposed to sing? We Miss Thing's got that hat on.
Oh no!
So afterwards, there's a party in her dressing room, and the picture is me dancing with her, her brother Chico, who was also in the show, and Andrew. There's a few other people in the picture, and then there's a big pink hat, and then behind the pink hat are people, and there's a sofa, and you can't see in the picture who's seated on the sofa, but it's Marvin Gaye, Donna Summers, and Gladys Knight.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
And I'm 20, maybe 21.
Right.
So in that show, before this is all happening, she, okay, I'll roll it back a little bit.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks into rehearsal, the director, David, comes up to me and says, listen, Billy, I'm 20. This job is so big, I'm not going to really be able to choreograph it. So how about you choreograph? And I'll hit you under the table, and
It's all good.
we're good, right? And I'm like, hell to the yeah, we're good. I'm 20. You know what I mean? I'm like, what?
Now you're getting an assistant check, a jazz dancer check, a street dancer check, and now another little
Checks.
bonus.
Checks.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. But it was a secret.
Yeah.
I never said anything. I didn't feel the need to say anything. It was an honor for him to think that I was actually capable to do the job. And so a year later, when HBO is doing this special, Diana's introducing her dancers. She introduces everyone. I'm always the last person. And she says, and my lead dancer, choreographer, Billy. I was like, did she just say choreographer?
Total shock to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, she didn't have to do that, but that was like the beginning of my choreographic career because no one knew.
That acknowledgement.
Yeah,
Oh.
no one knew that I was choreographing or that I could or that I did. So she just from her heart was like, you know, David Winters, he's already got
Right.
everything.
Right.
But this young kid is starting off.
Amazing.
And people need to know that this part of the work is his. This young kid did this. And that was the gift that I got that to this day has never stopped giving.
Right.
Just in my heart, that kind of generosity. Yeah, it was good.
It's so important to hear things like that because there's so many assholes out there that will throw you under the bus to get ahead, just the slightest bit, you know. But there are people that do operate in an ethical way. It's not, unfortunately, it's not mainstream, but there still are some really great people to work for.
And sometimes it's not even ethics; it's just kindness.
Kindness,
You know,
Right.
just
Yeah.
A sense of kindness.
Yeah, a sense of kindness. You know, and the feeling that you're doing the right thing.
Lift up
Yeah.
your brother.
Yeah, exactly. A friend of mine, Donna Hyatt, who was a street dancer, but also, if I'm not mistaken, an English teacher. So she was like this crazy dichotomy. She actually took me on Soul Train one of my first times. Little white girl takes me on Soul Train.
Love it.
And more bucket list, you know. She one day she says, you need to come to this guy's class. And I'm like, who, where? Because everything was so new to me. I mean, people would take me to Claude, people would take me everywhere.
Yeah.
She was like, Michael Peters, you're gonna love him. And so I went in the tightest white jazz pants.
Yeah. Milliskin.
I'm embarrassed now, but at the time I knew I was hot.
Fly, baby.
But you know, I'm serving these jazz bands.
Okay.
And at one point, Michael says, because he was famous for walks across the floor,
Yes.
and he kind of stops the class. And he was like, "You go back and do it first." I was like, "Me?"
First time in class.
Yeah.
Oh,
first
my
time in
goodness.
class. And I was like, Billy, tear it up, walk.
Yes.
And that started a long love affair with him that had rough periods. not a sad ending, but one of the things that I learned for a while after I did Beat It with him, he didn't talk to me for quite a while.
What do you think that was?
I didn't know why.
Okay.
I really did not know why. And then I was on the Burbank lot one time, and I was choreographing. Do you remember Marine Jahan?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Flash dance.
Absolutely.
Body double. Hello.
Absolutely.
And she was kind of had her little starlet moment.
Yes.
I think we were doing a TJ Hooker. And I know, it's crazy just saying that. And we were on the lot, and we were in one of those carts, and we were talking, and I think they were getting ready to do Thriller. And he didn't call me for it. And I was just concerned, you know. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like something happened.
Yeah.
And she said something about, I think it might be because you're using some of his bar in your class. And I was like, At that time, that bar, and I'm not going to be able to remember her name, I'm sorry, was from their teacher in New York. So it was the same bar that Lester did, Jerry, all those guys did that bar.
Standard bar.
Yeah, and it was just like all of us did Joe Tremaine's, that jazz warm
Or
up.
Doug Call.
Or,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
It was kind of a staple that you kind of drew on, and especially as a young dancer, I was thinking it was flattery. I was thinking I'm drawing from...
It's not Beverly Johnson, was it? Was that the one? No.
No, Beverly Johnson was the model.
Yeah.
But I know it was with a B.
Yes.
Yeah, her
right,
name is
yeah,
with a B.
anyway.
Violet Lee? No.
No, that's chorus line.
Was it Beatrice?
Something like that. Because Edgar, everyone studied.
Everyone studied with her. Incredible bar.
Amazing
incredible
teacher.
bar.
She produced
It's
some
like
incredible-
fuerte, develope,
yes.
tilt, return,
Yeah.
attitude,
Oh, yeah.
tilt.
Nuts.
Nice.
Oh my God. Loved it.
Nice.
And I was like, okay. So then I went through a period of revamping my class to become 100% me.
Yeah.
And I started teaching at, remember Alley Cat?
Yeah.
Started teaching at Alley Cat, and every once in a while I would see a figure in the observation room in the shadows. And whenever there was a break, I was like, I know who that is in the shadows, but I need to go closer to the window. And it was him, just watching. And I said hi, and he was already not well at this point. And he would do that every once in a while, just come and check me out and say hi. And then he started sending me people to personally train for jobs that might be on Broadway in New York or films in New York. He would send them to me.
You really sort of started a whole fitness thing with a little thing called cardio funk back in the day. How did that come about? And it became such a big part of your brand in the early years.
Oh, I had a brand.
You had a
I
brand.
Did.
You did have a brand.
I guess I did.
You had a brand.
Yeah.
Billy's back.
Yeah, Billy's
Yeah, I
back.
remember that.
Shut up.
So how did that?
Yeah, that was during cardio
Void
fun.
Fitness. Yeah, that was awesome.
How did that come in? How did you say, okay, I'm going to do this? And
You know what that was? I got into aerobics because I was on the road with Ross, and it was hard to find a good dance class, but it was easier to find an aerobics class. So I got into aerobics, and high impact killed me. I mean, just killed my body, all that bouncing and jumping. And I started taking from Karen Voigt, who was an ex-dancer, who opened a studio on La Cienega. And I would take her class, and it was right at the beginning when low impact was just starting, but it was really nerdy. It was kind of like jazz hands, and oh my
Step
God,
shot,
it was
step
like
shot.
embarrassing to do.
Yeah.
Viral video.
Yeah.
Wonder White
Just-
Bread on
Yeah, you said it. You said it. And I was like, there has to be something better than this. And this was like right at the beginning of hip hop. And so I went and I talked to Karen and her husband Henry, And I said, how about if we come up with this exercise class that's basically hip hop oriented, low impact, that's for everybody. And she was like, we love it. And that shit took off like...
Nationally.
Yes, internationally.
Now, this was before DVDs. Did you make VHS and did you distribute them? And you had the whole deal?
Did the whole deal.
Oh, my goodness.
Did the whole deal. But then when it started to go really, really big, I wasn't interested in it anymore. It was like, this isn't my life. Dance is my life.
Right.
This was...
You got pulled on this other path.
Yeah, you know, when things start to go corporate. So it was interesting because right off my heels, I mean, Cardio Funk was still on the burner. What's his name? Billy Blank. Started...
Crunch and whatever. What was
which was...
Tybo and,
which all of it was kind of a bit of an offshoot of Cardio Funk. So I was like, well, there you go. Go ahead. Let it be his story. It's not mine. Cardio Funk is part of my story, but it's not. I can't stay in the fickle fitness business.
Right.
But it was a great 4 or 5 years. And I remember class, I think we had a limit of 70 people, and it would sell out at 8 in the morning, and the class was at 8 in the evening. Yeah, it became like this rock star thing, and
I went to try to take a few times, and it was
I mean, every dancer was there. Stars. I remember James Taylor would be in there, and Paul Abdul, and all of their dancers, and all of Janet's dancers. It was a great moment. And I remember all of my dance friends were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
"Collecting checks."
Well, yeah. I mean, part of it was that, but it was like, it's still dance.
Yeah.
And it's actually giving dance to so many people that in our professional world, it wouldn't reach.
Right.
And I had so many people, and you know LA, how many people go to therapy. When they were taking Cardio Funk, they stopped going to therapy.
Yeah, you don't need
serotonin.
Yeah, they were like getting rid of so much stuff and
Exactly.
getting so much good stuff back in that they were like, for several years I didn't go to therapy. And it was also during the beginning of AIDS, and everyone had this sexual energy that was like pent up, and they didn't know what to do with it, and that fear of, you know, going to the clubs and being crazy. And this was like a great kind of orgy.
Yeah.
You know,
With
for
the
an
clothes
hour
on.
with your clothes on, safe as hell. And you could basically get off, you know, in an hour. And so it was fabulous. But I knew at the end of the 80s, I'm done.
It was time for you to...
Yeah, and I want to get back to...
Well, when did you start going? You started choreographing in Europe in the late '80s. Is that right? You've been with...
My first time in Europe was in '84. I did a job that ended up winning the Eurovision Song Festival. I'm not sure if you know what that is. Most Americans don't.
absolutely.
Oh, do you
Yeah,
really?
absolutely.
Look at you guys with some Swedish guys.
I don't.
Actually. I didn't think you would. But
All the European
but that took me to
countries
Europe the
competed
first
on
time.
like The Voice.
Yeah,
It's like a song competition.
Yeah, and it's a big thing in Europe.
Massive.
And
even in Australia, we love it. It's like we get together, you know, you make pizza or get have a massive. It's so good. It's the worst of the worst, but the best
the
of the
worst
best
of
too.
the worst. And I worked with this group called the Hoorays. Hi guys,
hooray.
3 brothers, Swedish brothers, and they lived in L.A. One of them used to do Fame. Richard, he did Richard Hooray. You ever do Fame? He did that a little bit, but all 3 of them danced. All 3 of them sang a little bit, and they have this song called "Digaloo Digalay," which was like this. I couldn't possibly win. I was like, it could not possibly win.
Ding, 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 ding.
So I actually choreographed the song to Rick James, Super Freak.
Yeah.
I did the choreography to that, and then
put it on
and
that
then I
other
put it
song.
on
Yeah,
Digaloo
yeah.
Digalay.
I love it.
Yes.
Because you had to have that feeling.
They won.
I won.
And that was in '84.
Swedish, right?
Swedish.
That's how ABBA got discovered. They won it too,
ABBA,
right?
yeah, we won
Yeah.
10 years after ABBA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even to this day, when I go to Sweden
That's
and they
amazing.
put that song and play it in a club or something, people run to the dance floor. Oh, Billy, do you know this song? I was like,
Baby.
yes, I know this song, but it's just weird. But yeah, that's when I first went to Europe, and then in '87 I went seriously. I went to do a TV show with a big Italian star named Gino Bramieri, who was like real old school. He was kind of like, not really like Jerry Lewis, but comedian, actor, all-around showman. And I was choreographing we had stars coming, international stars coming every week. And there was a girl that was there, and I was choreographing for her, and she was the star of the Moulin Rouge in Paris. And I did 2 or 3 numbers for her, and she called the Moulin and said, somebody get down here with a contract
Oh my goodness.
for this guy. And the director, Miss Doris, she came down and gave me a contract. And that was 31 years later, and I'm still the choreographer.
Amazing.
And I'm living in Italy, and
That's
that whole
just
thing kind
incredible.
of drew me to Europe,
Yeah,
and I fell in
yeah,
love
yeah.
with Europe. So that's
phenomenal.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Who
And
choreographs for 31 years on the same?
anything?
That's like,
I know.
exactly.
Well, that was
that
that
speaks
was
a
the
lot
thing.
to what you bring.
Well, that's the wonderful thing that I really feel honored that I'm part of the French story.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, because when you think about France, okay, Eiffel Tower, Moulin Rouge, you know,
Lido.
Toulouse-Lautrec, you know. So to be a part of that brand, that story, that maison, is incredibly wonderful. And they just called me. I'm going to go back and give the show a bit of a facelift.
Freshen it up.
Yeah, freshen it up because they've decided not to change it, and it's been there 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Because it's
Yeah.
classic. I mean,
Yeah, but it's time. But they finally, last time I was there a few months ago, they were like, Billy, we're not even going to lie to you anymore. We're not changing the show for a while. So I was like, okay, now we know. But they were like, why don't we get you in to give it a facelift, modernize a few numbers. So I'm like, I'm down. So it's wonderful because I feel blessed because I have an international story. And I feel so rich because, you know, something like the Moulin Rouge or even Italy, what Italy has as a story,
Oh, yeah.
you know, from art to food to
Absolutely.
The culture is amazing.
culture. So,
you speak French and Italian.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Lovely. Billy, I'm going to ask this of every icon because it's important for younger dancers to know. How did you handle your financial success? And how did you hang on to that? Did you have advisors? You don't have to get specific, but just generally, how did you hang on? And what advice
think-
to the younger generation would you give for that?
Oof, what advice? I think I was a bit different than so many of my friends who got agents and managers and bought houses. I was the other guy who lived life. It was a choice. I want to see the world. I want to experience the world. And so, to tell the truth, I've never had an agent. I've had lawyers and financial advisors, but I always found that agents wanted to put me in a cubby hole, and it's like, I need 12 cubby holes.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Billy, you're one of the most diverse choreographers in
Well,
the industry.
I mean, it's just, you know, I like to do theater. I like to do television. I like to do film. I like to do fashion. I also still teach some directing. And so to try to find people that don't want to begin to limit you
Yep.
to fit their what their needs are. I just found it to be difficult. And then at a certain point, and I'm very, very thankful that my name kind of precedes me, so it wasn't necessary at a certain point. Getting the job wasn't hard, but getting the right deal, okay, now I need
Lawyer or something.
a lawyer, a financial advisor. So my advice is probably to do it your way and have plenty of backup. Don't be afraid to get help. But I'm kind of like the Whopper, do it your way. Don't be afraid of and also don't be afraid of being different. As artists, as people, I think we are all different. There's some things that we share, but don't be afraid, to look around at who's around you and draw from that, but don't let that make you think that you need to be that.
Right. I tell dancers, you're on your own path.
Yeah.
You're not on anybody else's path. You can learn and absorb and,
Yeah. If not us, then who?
Right.
If not artists, then who?
Isn't that what dance is all about anyway? It's
Yeah.
about expressing yourself fully.
Yeah.
And you learn some technique to be able to express yourself even more fully without falling down and breaking yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billy, it must have been a conscious decision when you developed your style, maybe after Tony Basil, to incorporate such classical ballet moves. 1-8, and then the next 8 be whacking and locking. My first experience with you was knocked out, and we're doing, double attitude turns into a whacking combination, and it was just so fabulously unique that I just was like, wow, this is so cool, the classical and the new. Was that a conscious decision or just sort of organically develop?
Organic.
Yeah.
Completely. I drew from everything that I liked.
And you loved the Trinas. And
Yeah, and because I loved ballet. And it might go back to my mom taking me to that class when I was 4, but my idol was Misha Brishnikov, and I completely identified because I played sports, and he had that kind of athleticism that at that time in the 70s, I was like, that's what it's all about.
This is it.
But then street dance was my heart. But then I loved salsa and I loved Afro and I loved everything. So it just kind of I remember one time Joe Bennett at Dupre's, my class was kind of the flavor of the month for a while. And a lot of kids. And there was the big observation room, and then there was a little door off to the side, and there was a little window in it. And I would see his eye, peering in. And one day he said something like, "Oh, but that's not dance." And it was a mission for me to prove to him that it was. And then it became the fashion, and then it became seriously embedded in what dancers needed as far as their vocabulary.
Right.
And so many kids were growing up listening to hip hop and dancing that dance. It was only natural. But because we were doing it in '79, it was still not acceptable. And Joe, I hope I did good.
I think he'd agree.
But
I think he'd agree.
but that it's just because I love it.
Yeah.
You know.
And it goes back to nobody puts baby in a box. You've got so many different elements to provide to your choreography. It makes it so spicy and so innovative.
Thank you.
We are indebted to you as an icon of choreography and dance for all that you've given us and the industry for sure over these years. In the vein of the Actors Gang questions, rapid fire questions, we're going to ask some questions of you. What turns you on creatively?
Honesty.
What turns you off?
Fake ass.
Yeah.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What's your favorite choreographer living, other than yourself? Living.
Yudi Killian.
Oh, good choice.
Fantastic.
Snap.
Oh,
And who is your favorite choreographer who's deceased?
Can I do two?
You can do two,
Fosse and Jack Cole.
the originators. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Photography.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. What profession would you never like to do?
Bank teller, work in an office.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Come on in!
Billy, what's your favorite city
Paris.
and why?
Because I love it.
And what's your favorite food?
Breakfast for dinner.
Ah, pancakes. I love it. I love it. Who are your real life heroes today? Who do you consider a hero to you?
Ooh, who's a hero? Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Teresa.
That was my next question. Who's your favorite heroine in history?
Heroine in history. Well, Mother Teresa.
Mhm.
There's something about just goodness.
Mm-hmm. 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 With no expectation of anything in return,
Yeah,
just goodness.
Yeah, just goodness.
What natural gift would you most like to possess that you don't already?
A quick metabolism.
Too much. Too much.
Help me with this fat ass.
How would you like to die? Not my question.
How would I like to die? Sleeping and dreaming of dance.
There you go.
Hey.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. What is your present state of mind?
At peace. Happy.
Well, that's nice. And what faults do you feel? To what faults do you feel most indulgent?
Faults. You mean like vices?
Vices.
Well, it's legal now.
Well, okay. No, you don't need to say anymore. You don't need to say anymore. And then finally, what is your motto? What's Billy's motto in life?
Do it till you can't do it no more.
I like it. I like it. Fantastic. Gentlemen, any more questions?
Nathan had a couple.
Nathan, you had some
oh no,
some
just-
surprises.
You covered so much. I wanted to know about some of the dance history before I got to LA, so that I knew that you were deeply involved in, and you spoke it. It was awesome.
What year did you
I
get
came here in '83, and I took your class the
Yeah.
first day I got to LA.
Yeah.
I
No,
took
I remember it.
Jackie's Jazz 5, and then yours was right after. At like
I remember
7 to 8:30, I think yours was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was so I was just blown away. Number one, Jackie's class was like a whole different thing. I'd never done a pirouette pulled up before, parallel.
Yeah.
I got from San Francisco. It was Ann Garvin was all plie and all and like drop your chest on your bottom, make your leg look higher. Literally, that's what she would say. And like
It's like
it's
sacrilege.
hilarious, And it's like it's so the opposite. But your class was so thorough and so well thought out.
Thank
And
you.
you were the first
you.
male jazz teacher I'd ever had.
Oh my God.
And so I was just like, oh, I have so much to learn. Oh my God. And you were only 26 years old when I took your class, and it was like, how does someone who's 26 have that much presence of mind? Like, I think of a 26-year-old now as being a child. I know I was a child when I was 26, even though I was trying to get married and stuff, but I was like,
Yes, you were.
I tried. It didn't work very well.
Well, that's okay. You
gave it a shot.
Try again.
She was lovely.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. That's all right. That's all right. Well, thank you.
What is
Thank you
next for
that.
Billy Goodson?
Moving back home.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to leave Italy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said that 3-4 years ago.
I know I did. I know.
Well, how's your mom?
Mom is wonderful.
Oh, good.
I surprised her and showed up for Christmas. Just left her. It's so wonderful to go to, because I'm in the family house, staying in the family house with her, and it's wonderful to go to bed with her in the other room and wake up with her in the other room. There's just something so.
Is that part of your reason to move back? Is to be
Definitely,
closer
definitely.
toward the end of her
I'm,
life?
I'm fortunate to have my mom at 91.
Wow.
And I miss you guys. I miss my family. I still plan on working in Europe because for 25 years, my base was here, but I worked like 7 months out of the year in Europe. And then I got a long job that was like 10 months out of the year. And so I changed my base. That was 10 years ago. But now I don't have a gig that's 10 months out of the year, so I can afford to
Flip it again.
Yeah, to flip it. So
Nice.
I'd love to do that, yes.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this has been a fabulous visit with Billy Goodson. Please be sure and share, subscribe, like, and give us a shout out if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to cover. Once again, thank you, Billy. We so appreciate your presence, and
Thank you,
you're
guys.
an honor
Thank you.
to have you as our first
Thank you.
icon.
Right there.
Legend.
These guys.
Amen. Ciao. Peace out.
Peace.
Awesome.